From a demand perspective, it could be 2 or 3 times that, so potentially 250, 300,000 people. But the supply is heavily constrained, and in all seriousness, over the next 10 years, I see maybe 50,000, 60,000 new residents added to the existing size.
We believe it's going to grow at a good rate, so probably 150,000 plus in 10 years' time.
Chris, without a crystal ball, that's an interesting question. But looking at the amount of land supply and the difficulty in getting approvals, I think the next 10 years we'll probably see another 35,000, maybe to 50,000 homes being constructed. So that's 70,000 people, give or take.
Well, hard to say where it's going to end up, but I really feel like there's a huge amount of demand in the space. The one challenging or the one constraining factor that we see across the market is approvals for development. There's no lack of willingness to construct and deploy sites, but it's more a case of actually limiting factors around the approval side of things. I would expect it to sort of grow by 30–40%, but I think there's capacity and willingness and market demand for it to double in those 10 years.
Well, the challenges around supply are really principally with local councils, finding the land where we can buy it at an acceptable price, taking it through the approval process, which can take 2 or 3 years, and it's probably got a 50% success rate at best. And then we're having to compete with other developers out there, and so they're the sort of supply side constraints we're facing. Oh, absolutely. I think not-for-profits who are great innovators have got a huge role to play. We're actually in discussions with several of them about looking at some joint venture opportunities, and I think it's inevitable that more and more not-for-profits are going to actively move into this space.
I think the affordable housing proposition is really important with land lease, and so we really believe in that proposition of around $400,000. I think for not-for-profits, they'll need to change their business model somewhat to understand it and fit into the system.
The history of land lease here in Australia comes from the caravan park industry, which was definitely affordable permanence. There is definitely a place for not-for-profits, but it doesn't mean that it has to stay in the affordable. It can go right through from affordable to very much high-end.
Yes, I think it certainly is a natural fit for not-for-profits. So in terms of from a mission perspective, absolutely, from an affordability housing proposition. I also think that not-for-profits have the added benefit of the brand and reputation that they wield in the market, as well as the strength of balance sheet and capital to deploy. I think it's a natural fit, and it's something that we expect to see more of in the future, and we'd certainly welcome it from a Westpac perspective in terms of being able to support those operators to develop those communities.
That's a great question, Chris. Look, personally, and I think the vast majority of the industry feels that that's not necessary. We're already making what we feel is a fair return through the sale of the home, and then there's a very transparent mechanism where we're charging a weekly or fortnightly rent, and that gives the operators plenty of incentive to continually invest in our communities. I know other operators see differently, but I think the simplicity of paying for the home, paying weekly for the rent, keeping 100% of the capital gain, that's a great model.
In general, we think that land leases shouldn't have DMFs. So, again, we are on the side of having smaller and more modest, community facilities. I think some others have much larger community facilities, and, that's for them how they want to fund that. I guess fundamentally we see the business cases stacking up without a DMF.
I think we have a great financial structure right now without DMF, and that the residents come to land lease communities because it's simple, it's transparent, they get to make improvements to the home and they get to keep the capital gain, which I think is to their benefit, and ours as an industry, that we keep it simple.
Well, I can't speak for the whole industry, but what I can say is that over 1/3 of our 10,000 residents are accessing Ingenia care packages. So we have a team of trained nurses, which is called Ingenia Connect, and we facilitate our residents to access the best and cheapest government-funded or government-subsidised home care.
So I think the distinction is very clear that this is for independent living, land lease. So we're happy to introduce our customers to service providers which can allow them to age in place. But from our point of view, we think the skills are quite different, and we're focused on the independent living piece.
Yeah, to that end, our industry is certainly maturing, and the operators are maturing as well. So our skill set, whilst we deliver independent living, the technology backbone of our communities certainly allows for external services to come in, and over time the ageing in place concept, which is being supported by government, will mean that services are available within land lease, and I think it's a natural progression for our operators.